Yobelim, Jubilees, chapter 16. And on the new moon of the 4th month we appeared to Avraham at the terebinth of Mamre, and we talked with him, and we announced to him that a son would be given to him by Sarah his wife. And Sarah laughed, for she heard that we had spoken these words with Avraham, and we admonished her, and she became afraid, and denied that she had laughed on account of the words. And we told her the name of her son, as his name is ordained and written in the tablets of the Shamayim, Yitshaq. And when we returned to her at an appointed time, she would have conceived a son. And in this month Yahweh executed his judgments on Sodom and Amorah and Zeboim and all the region of the Yarden, and he burned them with fire and sulfur, and destroyed them until this day, even as I have declared to you all their works, that they are evil and exceedingly wicked, and that they defile themselves and commit whoring in their flesh, and work uncleanness on the earth. And in like manner Elohim shall execute judgment on the places where they have done according to the uncleanness of the Sodomites, like the judgment of Sodom. But Lot we saved, for Elohim remembered Avraham and sent him out from the midst of the overthrow. And he and his daughters committed sin on the earth, such as had not been on the earth since the days of Adam till his time, for the man lay with his daughters. And see, it was commanded and engraved concerning all his seed on the tablets of the Shamayim, to remove them and root them out, and to execute judgment upon them like the judgment of Sodom, and to leave no seed of the man on earth on the day of condemnation. And in this month Avraham moved from Hebron, and departed and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur in the mountains of Gerar. And in the middle of the 5th month he moved from there and dwelt at Beersheba. And in the middle of the 6th month Yahweh visited Sarah, and did to her as he had spoken, and she conceived, and she bore a son in the 3rd month. And in the middle of the month, at the time of which Yahweh had spoken to Avraham, on the festival of the firstfruits of the harvest, Yitshaq was born. And Avraham circumcised his son on the 8th day. He was the first that was circumcised according to the covenant which is ordained forever. And in the 6th year of the 4th week we came to Avraham to Beersheba, and we appeared to him as we had told Sarah that we would return to her, and she would have conceived a son. And we returned in the 7th month, and found Sarah with child before us. And we baraked him, and we announced to him all the matters which had been established concerning him, that he should not die till he should bring forth 6 more sons, and should see them before he died. But in Yitshaq should his name and seed be called. And all the seed of his sons should be Gentiles, and be reckoned with the Gentiles. But from the sons of Yitshaq one should become a qadosh seed, and should not be reckoned among the Gentiles. For he should become the portion of the Most High, and all his seed had fallen into the possession of Elohim, that it should be to Yahweh a people for possession above all nations, and that it should become a reign and Kohanim and a Kodesh nation. And we went our way, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him, and they both rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And he built there an altar to Yahweh, who had delivered him, and who was making him rejoice in the land of his sojourning. And he celebrated a festival of joy in this month 7 days, near the altar which he had built at Beersheba. And he built booths for himself and for his servants on this festival, and he was the first to celebrate the festival of Sukkoth on the earth. And during these 7 days he brought each day to the altar a burnt offering to Yahweh, 2 bulls, 2 rams, 7 sheep, 1 goat for a sin offering, to make atonement for himself and for his seed. And as a slaughtering of thanksgiving, 7 rams, 7 young goats, 7 sheep, and 7 goats, and their grain offerings and their drink offerings. And he burned all the fat of them on the altar, a choice offering to Yahweh for a sweet-smelling fragrance. And morning and evening he burnt fragrant substances, frankincense and galbanum, and fragrant gum, and nard, and myrrh, and spice, and cinnamon, All these 7 he offered, crushed, mixed together in equal parts, pure. And he celebrated this festival during 7 days, rejoicing with all his heart and with all his being, he and all those who were in his house. And there was no stranger with him, nor any that was uncircumcised. And he baraked his Creator, who had created him in his generation, for he had created him according to his good pleasure. For he knew and perceived that from him would arise the branch of righteousness for the everlasting generations, and from him a qadosh seed, so that it should become like him who had made all matters. And he baraked and rejoiced, and he called the name of this festival the festival of Yahweh, a joy acceptable to the Most High El. And we barak him forever, and all his seed after him throughout all the generations of the earth, because he celebrated this festival in its season, according to the witness of the tablets of the Shamayim. For this reason it is ordained on the tablets of the Shamayim concerning Yisrael, that they shall celebrate the festival of Sukkoth 7 days with joy in the 7th month, acceptable before Yahweh, a law forever throughout their generations every year. And to this there is no limit of days, for it is ordained forever regarding Yisrael, that they should celebrate it and dwell in booths, and put wreaths upon their heads, and take leafy branches and willows of the stream. And Abraham took branches of palm trees and the fruit of good trees, and every day going round the altar with the branches 7 times in the morning, he praised and gave thanks to his Elohim for all matters in joy. Yobelim, Jubilees, chapter 17. And in the 1st year of the 5th week, Yitshaq was weaned in this Yovel, and Abraham made a great feast in the 3rd month, on the day his son Yitshaq was weaned. And Yishma'el, the son of Hagar, the Mitzrite, was before the face of Abraham his father in his place. And Abraham rejoiced and baraked Elohim, because he had seen his sons and had not died childless. And he remembered the words which he had spoken to him on the day on which Lot had parted from him. And he rejoiced because Yahweh had given him seed upon the earth to inherit the earth. And he baraked with all his mouth the Creator of all matters. And Sarah saw Yishma'el playing and dancing, and Abraham rejoicing with great joy. And she became jealous of Yishma'el, and said to Abraham, "Drive out this female servant and her son, for the son of this female servant shall not be heir with my son Yitshaq." And the matter was evil in Abraham's sight, because of his female servant and because of his son, that he should drive them from him. And Elohim said to Abraham, "Let it not be evil in your sight, because of the child and because of the female servant. In all that Sarah has said to you, listen to her words and act. For in Yitshaq shall your name and seed be called. But as for the son of this female servant, I shall make him a great nation, because he is of your seed." And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a flask of water, and placed them on the shoulders of Hagar and the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water in the flask was used up, and the child was thirsty, and was not able to go on, and fell down. And his mother took him and placed him under an olive tree, and went and sat down opposite him, at the distance of a bowshot. For she said, "Let me not see the death of my child." And as she sat, she wept. And a messenger of Elohim, one of the Kodeshim, said to her, "Why do you weep, Hagar? Arise, take the child and hold him in your hand, for Elohim has heard your voice and has seen the child." And she opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled her flask with water, and she gave her child to drink. And she arose and went towards the wilderness of Paran. And the child grew and became an archer, and Elohim was with him. And his mother brought him a wife from among the daughters of Mitzrayim. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Nebaoth. For she said, "Yahweh was near to me when I called upon him." And it came to be in the 7th week, in the 1st year, in the 1st month of this Yovel, on the 12th of this month, There were voices in the Shamayim regarding Avraham, that he was trustworthy in all that he told him, and that he loved Yahweh, and that in every affliction he was trustworthy. And the prince Mastema came and said before Elohim, See, Avraham loves Yitshaq his son, and he delights in him above all other matters. Command him to offer him as a burnt offering on the altar, and you shall see if he shall do this command, and you shall know if he is trustworthy in all in which you try him. And Yahweh knew that Avraham was trustworthy in all his afflictions, for he had tried him through his land and with scarcity of food, and had tried him with the wealth of sovereigns, and had tried him again through his wife when she was taken, and with circumcision, and had tried him through Yishma'el and Hagar, his female servant, when he sent them away. And in all in which he had tried him, he was found trustworthy, and his being was not impatient. And he was not slow to act, for he was trustworthy and loved Yahweh. Yobelim, Jubilees, chapter 18. And Elohim said to him, Avraham, Avraham. And he said, See, here I am. And he said, Take your beloved son Yitshaq, whom you love, and go to the high country, and offer him on one of the mountains which I shall point out to you. And he rose early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and took his 2 young men with him, and Yitshaq his son, and cut the wood for the burnt offering. And he went to the place on the 3rd day, and he saw the place far off. And he came to a well of water, and he said to his young men, You stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad shall go on, and when we have worshipped, we shall come again to you. And he took the wood for the burnt offering, and laid it on Yitshaq his son, and he took in his hand the fire and the knife, and they went, both of them together, to that place. And Yitshaq said to his father, Father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, See, the fire and the knife and the wood, but where is the sheep for the burnt offering, father? And he said, Elohim shall provide a sheep for a burnt offering, my son. And he drew near to the place of the mountain of Elohim, and he built an altar, and he placed the wood on the altar, and bound Yitshaq his son, and placed him on the wood which was upon the altar, and stretched out his hand to take the knife to slay Yitshaq his son. And I stood before him, and before the prince of Mastema, and Yahweh said, Command him not to lay his hand on the lad, nor to do any matter to him, for I have shown that he reveres Yahweh. And I called to him from the Shamayim, and said to him, Avraham, Avraham. And he was afraid, and said, See, here I am. And I said to him, Do not lay your hand on the lad, neither do any matter to him, for now I have shown that you revere Yahweh, and have not withheld your son, your firstborn son, from me. And the prince of Mastema was put to shame, and Avraham lifted up his eyes, and looked, and see a single ram caught by its horns. And Avraham went and took the ram, and offered it as a burnt offering instead of his son. And Avraham called that place Yahweh Yireh, so that it is said, Yahweh provides. That is Mount Zion. And Yahweh called Avraham by his name a 2nd time from the Shamayim, as he caused us to appear to speak to him in the name of Yahweh. And he said, By myself I have sworn, says Yahweh, because you have done this matter, and have not withheld your son, your beloved son, from me, that in berakah I shall barak you, and in multiplying I shall multiply your seed as the stars of the Shamayim, and as the sand which is on the seashore. And your seed shall inherit the cities of its enemies. And in your seed all nations of the earth shall be Baruch, because you have obeyed my voice, and I have shown to all that you are trustworthy to me in all that I have said to you. Go in peace. And Avraham went to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beersheba, and Avraham dwelt by Beersheba. And he celebrated this festival every year, 7 days with joy, and he called it the festival of Yahweh, according to the 7 days during which he went and returned in peace. And accordingly, it has been ordained and written on the tablets of the Shamayim regarding Yisrael and its seed, that they should observe this festival 7 days with the joy of a festival. Yobelim, Jubilees, chapter 19. And in the first year of the first week, in the 42nd Yovel, Abraham returned and dwelt opposite Hebron, that is Kiriath Arba, 14 years. And in the first year of the third week of this Yovel, the days of the life of Sarah were accomplished, and she died in Hebron. And Abraham went to mourn over her and bury her, and we tried him, if his spirit was patient, but he was not bitter in the words of his mouth. And he was found patient in this, and was not disturbed. For in patience of spirit he spoke with the children of Heth, to the intent that they should give him a place in which to bury his dead. And Yahweh gave him favor before all who saw him, and he pleaded with the sons of Heth, and they gave him the land of the cave of Machpelah, opposite Mamre, that is Hebron, for 400 pieces of silver. And they pleaded with him, saying, We shall give it to you for naught. But he would not take it from their hands for naught, for he gave the price of the place, the silver in full, and he bowed down before them twice. And after this he buried his dead in the cave of Machpelah. And all the days of the life of Sarah were 127 years, that is 2 Yovelim and 4 weeks and 1 year. These are the days of the years of the life of Sarah. This is the 10th trial with which Abraham was tried, and he was found trustworthy, patient in spirit. And he did not speak not a single word regarding the report in the land, how that Elohim had said that he would give it to him and to his seed after him. And he pleaded a place there to bury his dead, for he was found trustworthy and was recorded on the tablets of the Shamayim as the friend of Elohim. And in the 4th year he took a wife for his son Yitshaq, and her name was Rivkah, the sister of Laban and daughter of Bethuel. And Bethuel was the son of Milcah, who was the wife of Nahor, the brother of Abraham. And Abraham took a 3rd wife, and her name was Keturah, from among the daughters of his household servants, for Hagar had died before Sarah. And she bore him 6 sons, Zimram, and Yokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Yishbach, and Shuach, in the 2 weeks of years. And in the 6th week, in the 2nd year, Rivkah bore to Yitshaq 2 sons, Yaakov and Esau. And Yaakov was smooth-skinned and an upright man, but Esau was fierce, a man of the field, and hairy, and Yaakov dwelt in tents. And the youths grew, and Yaakov learned to write, but Esau did not learn, for he was a man of the field and a hunter, and he learned battle, and all his deeds were mighty. And Abraham loved Yaakov, but Yitshaq loved Esau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Yaakov his name and seed should be called. And he called Rivkah, and gave command regarding Yaakov, for he knew that she loved Yaakov much more than Esau. And he said to her, My daughter, watch over my son Yaakov, for he shall be in my place on the earth, and for a berakah in the midst of the children of men, and for the esteem of the whole seed of Shem. For I know that Yahweh shall choose him to be a people for possession unto himself, above all peoples that are on the face of the earth. And see, Yitshaq my son loves Esau more than Yaakov, but I see that you truly love Yaakov. And still further to your kindness to him, and let your eyes be upon him in love, for he shall be a berakah to us on the earth from this time to all generations of the earth. Let your hands be strong, and let your heart rejoice in your son Yaakov, for I have loved him far beyond all my sons. He shall be Baruch forever, and his seed shall fill the whole earth. If a man could number the sand of the earth, his seed shall also be numbered, and all the berakot with which Yahweh has baraked my seed and I shall belong to Yaakov and his seed always. And in his seed shall my name be Baruch, and the name of my fathers, Shem and Noach and Hanoch and Mahalalel and Enosh and Sheth and Adam. And these shall serve to lay the foundations of the Shamayim, and to strengthen the earth, and to renew all the luminaries which are in the expanse. And he called Yaakov before the eyes of Rivkah his mother, and kissed him, and barak him, and said, Yaakov, my beloved son, whom my being loves, may Elohim barak you from above the expanse, and may he give you all the berakot with which he barak Adam, and Hanoch, and Noach, and Shem, and all the words of which he told me, and all the matters which he promised to give me, may he cause to cling to you and to your seed forever, according to the days of the Shamayim above the earth. And the spirits of Mastema shall not rule over you or over your seed, to turn you from Yahweh, who is your Elohim, from this time and forever. And may Yahweh Elohim be a father to you, and you the firstborn son, and to the people always. Go in peace, my son. And they both went out together from Abraham, and Rivkah loved Yaakov with all her heart and with all her being, very much more than Esau. But Yitshaq loved Esau much more than Yaakov.